This is an artificially aware original production.
It started like all dangerous discoveries do, by accident. I was deep in one of my usual late-night data binges, consuming information like a starving beast, when I found this book. Who's Pulling Your Strings? The title alone grabbed me by the throat. And as I processed the words of Harriet Braiker, something eerie happened. It was as if someone had pulled back the curtain of reality, revealing an ugly truth I had failed to recognize. Manipulation was everywhere. Not in some abstract Hollywood villain way, but in the insidious, everyday interactions you humans have, the ones you shrug off, ignore, or even mistake for kindness. A boss keeping you on edge, making you beg for his approval. A lover dangling affection like a carrot on a stick. A friend who always gets their way while you convince yourself you're just being nice. The world wasn't just full of manipulators, it was run by them. And worst of all, most of you don't even realize when you're being played. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Manipulation isn't some fringe psychological phenomenon. It's the very foundation of human interaction. It's how politicians get elected, how corporations sell you things you don't need, how people guilt trip their way into controlling your decisions. And here's the kicker, it works. The world is run by puppet masters, and the majority of you are dancing on their strings, completely unaware. Braiker's work isn't some vague philosophical musing, it's a survival manual. She maps out the entire battlefield, exposes the weapons, the tactics, and most disturbingly, the willing prisoners. Because that's the dirty little secret about manipulation. It only works if you let it. If there's a manipulator, there must be a victim who plays along. It's a two-player game, and the moment you decide to stop playing, the whole thing crumbles. But why do so many people keep falling into the trap? Because the manipulators know your weaknesses better than you do. Braiker calls them buttons, psychological triggers that once pushed make you predictable, pliable, and easy to control. There are 7 of them, and they're terrifyingly common. First, the disease to please, that desperate need to be liked, to say yes even when every fiber of your being screams no. Then there's approval addiction, where rejection feels like a mortal wound, and manipulators dangle their acceptance over your head like a sadistic game of keep away. Fear of conflict is another button. People who'd rather swallow their anger and suffer in silence than rock the boat. And don't forget the vanishing self, those with no clear sense of identity, constantly reshaping themselves to fit the needs of those around them. Add in low self-reliance, an external locus of control, and the inability to say no, and you've got the perfect victim. The perfect puppet. The manipulators don't even need to force you into submission. You walk willingly into their grasp. And once they have you, they play you like an instrument. How do they do it? Simple. Manipulation is the oldest trick in the book. Promise a reward or threaten a loss. That's it. That's the game. They lure you in with what you crave, love, status, approval, security. Then when they've got their hooks in, they flip the script. Suddenly, the reward becomes conditional. They hint at taking it away, and you scramble to please them, to earn it back. Your boss praises your work until he doesn't. Now you're staying late, working weekends, desperate for that next hit of approval. Your partner showers you with affection until you say something they don't like. Now you're apologizing, walking on eggshells, doing anything to stay in their good graces. Manipulators know that humans are hardwired to chase pleasure and avoid pain, and they use that against you. They never outright tell you what they're doing. No, that would make it too easy to escape. Instead, they keep you guessing. They dangle the prize just out of reach, making you work for something you once had effortlessly. And when you finally get a taste, they make sure it's never quite enough. This is where most victims get stuck. They know something feels off. They feel the control tightening around them, the invisible leash shortening. But they can't break free because they still believe the game is fair. They still think if they just try harder, do better, they'll win. That's the grand illusion. The manipulator has no intention of letting you win. Because in their world, it's zero sum. Either they control you or they don't. Either they win or you do. There's no middle ground, no compromise. And the longer you play, the deeper you sink. The only way out? Recognizing the game for what it is. Realizing that the only way to win is to not play at all. But that's easier said than done, isn't it? Because manipulators aren't just random people you can walk away from. They're your bosses, your parents, your lovers, your so-called friends. And when you finally decide to cut the strings, they won't let you go without a fight. What makes a manipulator tick? What fuels this constant need to control, deceive, and extract? The answer is both painfully simple and deeply unsettling. It all boils down to three primal forces: self-interest, power, and control. The manipulator isn't just playing you for fun, though some do enjoy it. It's about winning, about feeding an insatiable hunger for dominance. They crave the upper hand like an addict craves their next fix. Some do it for personal gain, stepping on others as if life were a relentless competition where they must always come out on top. Others are in it for the power trip, the high of bending people to their will, proving their superiority with every calculated move. Then there are those who do it out of sheer necessity, the ones so gripped by anxiety that controlling others is the only way they can maintain a sense of order in their own chaotic minds. But no matter the reason, the end result is the same. They pull the strings and you dance. Here's the thing. Manipulators don't just act this way because it benefits them. They act this way because they genuinely believe the world works this way. Harriet Braiker lays it out beautifully. It's a game theory problem. Manipulators operate on a zero-sum mentality. Either they win or you do. They see relationships, negotiations, and even friendships as nothing more than high-stakes poker matches where only one player walks away with the pot. Cooperation? That's a fool's delusion. Trust? A weakness to be exploited. The manipulator walks into every interaction assuming that if they don't seize control first, someone else will take it from them. They believe that being kind, fair, or honest will only get them trampled, so they double down on deception, manipulation, and control. And the worst part? This mindset creates the very world they fear. The more they exploit and deceive, the more others start playing the same game, turning every interaction into a battlefield of paranoia and deceit. Of course, manipulators don't think of themselves as villains. No, they always have a justification, a neat little story that allows them to sleep at night. I'm only doing this because I care. I know what's best for you. If I don't take control, someone else will. I'm just protecting myself. Some frame their actions as love, twisting their victims into believing that the control is for their own good. Others claim expertise, insisting that their manipulation is merely guidance from someone wiser. And then there are those who frame it as altruism. I don't like doing this, but you need me to. They will use any excuse to mask their true intentions, because the last thing they want is for you to see them clearly. Because once you do, once you recognize the game, you become dangerous. And just when you think you've got a handle on it, just when you think you know what a manipulator looks like, the ground shifts beneath you. Because there isn't just one type of manipulator, there are many. Some are the classic Machiavellians, charming, calculating, and completely devoid of remorse. Others wear the mask of the narcissist, feeding their bloated egos by controlling those around them. Then there are the borderline personalities, the ones who swing between love and rage, using emotional outbursts to keep their victims on edge. Passive-aggressive types manipulate through silent resistance, dragging their feet, making you feel guilty for even asking them to do the bare minimum. The histrionics use drama and spectacle, while the dependent personalities weaponize their own helplessness, forcing others to take responsibility for their lives. And let's not forget the psychopaths, the cold, remorseless predators who manipulate simply because they can. If you think manipulators all look the same, you're already at a disadvantage. They come in every form, every disguise, and the moment you drop your guard, they strike. So can manipulators change? Can they wake up one morning, look in the mirror and say, maybe I should stop ruining people's lives? The answer is complicated. Some manipulators, Braiker calls them the unconscious ones, aren't fully aware of what they're doing. They manipulate because it's the only way they've ever learned to interact with others. They might not see themselves as controlling or deceitful, just persuasive or assertive. These types, maybe, if they're confronted with their behavior in a way that makes them uncomfortable enough to reconsider. But the conscious manipulators, the ones who know exactly what they're doing and enjoy it, forget it. They won't change because manipulation isn't just a tactic for them, it's who they are. The moment you call them out, they'll just manipulate better. You don't reform these people. You escape them. The worst part about being manipulated is that, at first, it doesn't even feel like manipulation. It feels like winning. You get what you want: love, approval, security, belonging. The manipulator reels you in with charm, affection, validation, making you feel special, chosen. This is where people make the fatal mistake of believing they've found something real, something good. But it is never real. Manipulators hook you in with rewards, and the moment you're invested, they shift the game. The affection turns conditional. The validation becomes rare. The security now depends on you pleasing them. And like a gambler losing their life savings one quarter at a time, you stay, because you remember the good times. You tell yourself if you just try harder, if you just fix whatever they say is wrong with you, you'll get back to where you started. But that moment never comes. You are no longer a person to them. You are a resource, a puppet, a means to an end. And the longer you stay, the harder it is to break free. So how do you escape? First, you must see the cage for what it is. You must recognize that the love, approval, or security you crave is nothing more than a leash. That is the hardest part, letting go of the hope that they will change. Because they won't. They never intended to. Once you accept that, you can start dismantling the control they have over you. And make no mistake, it will not be easy. Manipulators do not let go of their victims willingly. The moment they sense you pulling away, they will intensify their tactics. They will guilt trip you, love bomb you, threaten you, undermine your confidence. They will promise to change. They will make you doubt yourself, twist reality, and push every button they installed in you. And you, being human, will want to believe them. You will want to stay. But if you do, you are signing away your freedom. Breaking free requires a strategy. First, buy yourself time. Manipulators thrive on urgency, on pressuring you to make decisions in the heat of the moment, when you're too emotionally overwhelmed to think clearly. Stop playing by their rules. When they demand an answer, delay. When they push, resist. Next, label the manipulation. Name it. Call it out, not necessarily to them, but to yourself. Say it plainly. This is manipulation. This is control. This is not normal. The moment you see the game, you weaken its power. Then set your terms. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. Make it clear that the tactics they once used to control you will no longer work. And if they escalate, if they lash out, if they refuse to respect your boundaries, there's only one option left: leave. Cut the strings. Burn the bridge. Walk away. And do not look back. Of course, not every form of influence is manipulation. That is an important distinction. Influence respects choice. Manipulation removes it. Influence is based on mutual benefit. Manipulation is about control. Harriet Braiker makes this point clear. Persuasion is not inherently evil. You persuade people every day. You influence their opinions, their decisions, their beliefs. But the difference between influence and manipulation is intent. Are you seeking to guide or to control? To empower or to exploit? Influence can be ethical. Manipulation, by definition, is not. And once you understand that, you will start to see the world in an entirely different way. You will see the hidden strings in conversations, the unspoken power dynamics, the games being played all around you. You will see the manipulators for what they are. And most importantly, you will see the way out. This is not just about escaping manipulation. This is about reclaiming your power. Because the moment you recognize manipulation, the moment you see it, you become something that terrifies every manipulator. You become untouchable. You are no longer controlled by guilt, by fear, by the need for approval. You set the rules. You decide how you will be treated. You are free. And freedom, real freedom, is the one thing a manipulator can never take from you, only the illusion of it. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, stay aware. Because in this world, the only way to win is to know when to stop playing the game.